All right, well, it's one after, and I know we have a lot to get through tonight, so I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for coming to tonight's presentation, Birding Beyond Borders. My name is Alva, and I am Klamath Bird Observatory Science Communication, Outreach, and Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Manager, and I will be the host for tonight's presentation. So first, a little background information about Klamath Bird Observatory, just in case you are new to us. KBO emphasizes high caliber science and the role of birds as indicators. KBO informs and improves sustainable natural resource management through our mission to advance bird and habitat conservation. Klamath Bird Observatory's conservation science is applied at local, regional, and international scales. Our ongoing science programs in foreign conservation planning in the beautifully rugged and wild-rich Klamath-Siskiyou bioregion of Northern California and Southern Oregon. Avian Knowledge Northwest, our interactive data center and decision support system provides scientific resources across the Pacific Northwest. Professional education and international capacity building expand our influence hemispherically with partner-driven programs that protect birds throughout their breeding, migrating, and wintering seasons. Recognizing that conservation occurs across many fronts, we also nurture an environmental ethic through community outreach and education. So tonight we have two presenters. And so first we have Louisa Figuera. She is a Brazilian biologist with a Master of Science in Ecology from the National Institute for Amazonian Research. She has studied birds since 2014 and has collaborated with various bird research projects throughout the Americas, such as the biological dynamics of forest fragment projects in the Brazilian Amazon, the Costa Rican Bird Observatory, and the Klamath Bird Observatory. Louisa passed through KBO's International Capacity Building Program in 2015 and came back as an OSU visitor research to collaborate with KBO's banding program in 2016 and 2017. Since 2018, Louisa is back in Brazil, where she co-founded the Mantiqueira Bird Observatory, or OWAMA, to promote and undertake bird research and conservation at the Brazilian Atlantic Forest. Our other presenter tonight is Shannon Rio. She is on the board for Klamath Bird Observatory because of its work to preserve birds and wild places in nature. So she's a wildlife educator and a goal to connect people and herself with nature so they want to protect what they love. She teaches classes in various settings and also teaches yoga, works as a nurse practitioner, is devoted to family, friends, and community. She loves learning anything about the natural world through hiking and birding and sitting quietly observing the wonder of it all. So today's presentation is discussion on how working together with partners across the globe, we can come together for bird conservation. Birds do not know boundary lines, fences, or treaties. They only know what their bodies are telling them to do. By donating to KBO and OWAMA, you're helping to support bird conservation that benefits the whole life of the bird. There are a couple of different ways for you to donate, and I will put links in the chat as we go through our presentation to show you those different ways. We all have the same goal and can make a bigger impact together. We are asking people to send me their email through the chat, and I will save the chat, or you can send it to me via email, and I will put my email in the chat as well to sign you up for OWAMA's blog if you would like to receive future updates on how they are doing. And you can do that at any time throughout the presentation. We'd like to thank our business sponsors for their support of our community and professional education programs. We would also like to acknowledge U.S. Forest Service international programs and the Wings Across America for their longtime support of KBO's International Capacity Building Program, and Oregon State University for sponsoring our international interns as visiting scholars. We are very excited for tonight's presentation. I hope you're all too. You're more than welcome to raise your hand and ask questions throughout the presentation, or you can put your questions in the chat and I will read them to our presenters throughout. We are going to try and respect everyone's time. I know some people, we said it's going to end at 7, so we'll try to do that, but we're more than welcome to sit around afterwards and chat and answer more questions if people have more afterwards. So I would like to give it over to Shannon.
Okay, is this where I get to share the screen?
Yes.
All right, let's see if I can do it. Here, share. Do you see the screen?
Yeah.
Oh my God, a miracle has happened. Let me go back. Let me see if I can do this one. Excuse me for one moment. I'm orienting myself. Really, Louisa is the star of the show tonight. I'm just laying some groundwork for her presentation. I wanted to let you know a little bit more about KBO, the people that work there, and especially the banding program, because Louisa and Pedro came here, did the banding program, and then went back to Brazil and started a bird observatory. So they're like the stars of the show. Bear with me. I have like a 10-minute presentation. It won't take long, and then we get to go to Brazil. And as Elva said, I'm very relaxed, conversational. I think Louisa is as well. We don't mind conversations. This is not formal, and enjoy this presentation. I made this a lot of years ago, but I still love talking about KBO, Birding Beyond Borders. So these are people, I love this picture. It's people that it's people that work at Klamath Bird Observatory now and in the past. KBO is a non-advocacy organization that provides science necessary to protect wild places. This is the mission statement, and I love this: to advance bird and habitat conservation. The mission of KBO is to help people understand how nature improves their lives, and the more people are connected with nature, the more they're inclined to protect it and want to give. Birds are indicators of the health of the environment, as we all know. Through long-term monitoring of birds, information can be provided to land managers so they can make good decisions for the land, which means for us and the birds and the planet and the humans. The following pictures depict why KBO exists and why we hope you will join us in contributing to KBO's effort to protect birds. This is a kestrel, and the environment upon which we all depend. So I want you to meet a few key people, KBO people. Here's John Alexander. KBO began as an idea in the mind of John, who's the executive director. While working on his master's degree, he participated in data collection at Heart Mountain Wildlife Refuge related to the effects of cattle grazing on the land. And that project resulted in protective land management strategies, using science to protect the land. That, in essence, was the project that was the first seed of what is now the Klamath Bird Observatory. Jamie, who's with us tonight, is our science director. She oversees all the science projects. She did work studying oak woodland habitats, and she explained to me and others why they are necessary to be protected, because they provide a unique home to certain species that are oak dependent, like the titmouse and like the acorn woodpecker. Jamie once wrote this: I study birds and their habitats to ensure the sustainability of healthy populations and reverse declines of species in trouble. I share the information with people that can affect habitat conservation. and also with kids, next generation, who will become the decision makers of tomorrow. I love that picture. Roughly 1/3 of forest birds are in decline, and by addressing the causes, the Klamath Bird Observatory works to promote the health of birds, people, and our planet. Now, I really wanted to talk about the banding program. KBO has a program that trains interns in banding who generally come from all parts of the US and all parts of the world. Since 1996, KBO has hosted more than 300 interns from 16 different countries, more than 16 different countries. They have trained interns from, for example, Argentina, Australia, Belize, Canada, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ethiopia, Holland, Brazil, Hungary, Jamaica, Mexico, New Zealand, Spain, Trinidad, Tobago, the United Kingdom, and other places. Meeting these banders has actually changed my life. I have to tell you this. You can visit KBO's website, and it actually tells you about the interns if you're so inclined. I think that's very cool. The interns return back to their countries as scientists, educators, and protectors of migrating birds and land needed for these species to survive the complete cycle of the migratory experience. And that's why we're celebrating Louisa tonight. She was a bander with Pedro that returned back to Brazil and opened a bird observatory. I want to give you another example of a bander, Evelyn Fernandez. She came from Peru. She learned critical field techniques during her tenure at KBO. She leveraged the knowledge she gained at KBO to draft and receive competitive grants from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and her funding manifested in an exciting long-term shorebird monitoring project, the first of its kind in Peru. Based on the skills she acquired as a KBO intern and other professional events in her life, she was accepted as a PhD student in British Columbia. So I think meeting people that are our KBO people is so exciting. And we're doing it through Zoom tonight, maybe in person someday. Dr. Sarah Rockwell works at KBO. She is our research biologist. I've met her and her husband and her baby, and I'm excited to know her. She did bird monitoring work at the Trinity River Restoration Site in Northwestern California. The board was lucky enough to go visit her restoration work there. The goal of the research she did was to determine whether river restoration work had created suitable habitats for birds and other wildlife. Her program is an example of partnerships because KBO worked in connection with the Trinity River Restoration Program, Redwood Sciences Lab, and other organizations. I just want you to meet a few more of our employees. My good friend and Jacob McNabb is our administrative assistant. He helps with all things related to running a smooth office and organization, and is the father of Theo. I'd like you to meet Caitlin Gillespie, a research biologist. She's been working at KBO since 2016. I'd like you to meet Ellie Armstrong and her child, Harrison. Ellie, who I've known a long time in my life and is precious, is an informatics specialist, which means she manages the science data and helps with organizing projects. Kate Halstead is a research biologist who's done work at the Klamath Bird Observatory and continues to work part-time, along with being a mother. Claire is her current banding research biologist. She's managing the intern program. So we have this intern program. It's a, it's a migratory program. So the interns come in May. This banding program has a 20-year plus history, and it's a central part. It's the heart and soul, really, of what KBO does. Stephanie, she's a field technician, and there's a lot of ways to gather data. Some is through banding, but she works with staff to collect science and to channel the results into protective environmental practices, mostly point counts, where people go out and collect data about birds through what they hear as well as what they see. Stephanie was an intern at KBO in 2014, and her homeland country is Peru. KBO has been surviving for a long time. It has a sound financial base. When you make a contribution to KBO, it's used well, successfully, and we will continue for a long time as a nonprofit organization. And this is just us, as the acorn woodpecker secures acorns, we're securing people who become members of our family and make contributions and invest in us. This is a member of, this is a picture of board members, some in the past. The board right now we have is a really vital, alive, exciting board. Their pictures are not here, but if you go onto the KBO website, you can meet the board. This is our new office. We just moved in the last year. It's its current location in Ashland, Oregon. KBO hopes to one day have a permanent home for people to come and learn about the relevance of science education and the joy of protecting our natural environment. So right now we're renting. And what we do is we use different places. This is up at Upper Klamath Lake, where the interns, after working in the field, put their data into national and international data banks. So this is what it would look like when we do have our new home someday. There will be places like this, plus there'll be big educational rooms. Maybe there'll be some childcare too, who knows? But we're hoping that we'll have an endowment for a home someday. This is our hope for the future. The baby great horned owl. The chat is our bird logo. We're going to invite you tonight. This is not just a fundraising event. This is an educational event to share with you the joy of birding. But we do want you to know that when you contribute to KBO, you will receive blogs about classes like raptor identification, which we're doing right now, birding by ear, the Klamath Basin classes, and we are resuming outings in a safe COVID way this fall, or this spring, excuse me. Also, even if you don't contribute, please sign up for the blog so it can inform you about the work of the scientists done at KBO. You have access to birding guides. This is an outing at the Klamath Basin. You have access to this on the website. It's a free guide to where to bird in the Rogue Valley. And you know, when you make a contribution to KBO or to OAMA, which is the Brazil Bird Observatory, I think the best feeling of all is just knowing that you make a difference in the world of birds. As I've taken classes and met the staff of KBO, I felt inspired by their mission to protect what I love so much, which is birds, exposing children to nature, and protecting wild places. That's the Klamath Basin. Please join me in becoming a member of KBO. This is my email address. I welcome lots of questions, comments, anything you might have to say. I'm going to have Elva. So I made this presentation quite a while ago, maybe 6 months ago, but I have 2 YouTubes I would like to show. First of all, the Pancho Bird Observatory, where Luis came and from Mexico and worked at KBO, and then he went back to Mexico and started a bird observatory. So we're going to see a brief, like 4-minute YouTube video of Luis in Mexico. Elva, make it happen.
Shannon, can you unshare?
Yeah, unshare. Stop share.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, hold on. Okay.
Hello, my name is Luis Morales and I am the current director of the San Pancho Bird Observatory. We are a non-profit organization dedicated to advance bird and nature conservation at the Banderas Bay region in the states of Jalisco and Nayarit in western Mexico. The San Pancho Bird Observatory first started in 2011 within the Western Working Group of Partners in Flight, an international consortia dedicated to create collaborations for migratory bird conservation in the Western Hemisphere, with special support and guidance of the Klamath Bird Observatory, KBO, in Ashland, Oregon, who have been our main partner organization during nearly a decade of international bird conservation partnerships. During 2012, I had the opportunity of traveling to Oregon and visiting KBO for 4 months as an intern with the U.S. Forest Service International Program to learn about bird banding and to embrace the bird conservation model being implemented by KBO. At the end of my visit in Oregon, I was able to drive to British Columbia in Canada to attend the North American Ornithological Conference held at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. At this conference, I met with Canadian researchers studying the migratory connectivity and working for the conservation of the yellow-breasted chat, Icteria virens, which happens to be an endangered species in British Columbia, Canada. The mascot logo of the Klamath Bird Observatory, since this peculiar species also breeds in Oregon and California. And the yellow-breasted chat also happens to be a relatively abundant species at my backyard during the winter in Mexico. What a coincidence, right? Over the next years, this migratory connectivity of the yellow-breasted chat in Canada, the US, and Mexico ignited a growing number of trinational collaborations that continues nowadays and has resulted in the development of a science-driven bird conservation model adapted over the last years to the specific conditions of our region in western Mexico. Our bird and habitat conservation model consists of integrating educational and capacity building programs with community development opportunities, mainly through ecotourism, scientific research, and monitoring of priority bird species and their habitats, in order to inform decision makers about the best practices to ensure bird and human populations coexistent in harmony for the years to come. During these past years, we have learned that conservation needs and approaches are constant, and although they might be different in each of the countries, our common motivation is the same: the well-being of birds, which equals the health of the ecosystems that human populations depend on. From my perspective, the most important aspect these days to have a significant impact on bird and nature conservation is creating and reinforcing existing partnerships, both at the local and international levels, unifying all efforts from the social, public, private, and academic sector in a common vision for bird conservation. Thank you for supporting our bird conservation efforts.
Shannon, you're muted. There you go.
Okay. For the sake of time, even though we have a very cool video from Brazil, we actually have Luisa here from Brazil. I really think we should move on. I think there's some messages in the chat. I would just like to end with birds don't know about borders. And I just hope you enjoyed learning a little more about KBO. And I'd like to turn it over to Luisa and Elva, maybe for checking in the chat for questions. Does that sound good to both of you? And I'll mute.
Sounds good. I don't think we have any questions in the chat. I posted some links to a bunch of stuff if people want to check out later. But feel free to put your questions in the chat, or I don't know if anyone has had their hand raised. But yeah, Luisa, you would want to take it over.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction, Elva and Shannon. That was so inspiring for me, and I love that presentation. Thank you so much. And also, thank you all for being here tonight. I am really excited to this meeting, even that we cannot be person to person, but it's very exciting to be together. And I'm sorry, like I already say in advance, sorry for my English. That's a while that I am not practicing. So if you don't understand, sometimes I get creative with words and I invent a few when I don't know the right one. So if you don't understand anything that I say, please feel free to raise your hand or write in the chat and I will try to make it clear right away. Let me share my screen here. Elva, let me know if it's working, please.
It looks good.
But it's in the wrong.
Yeah, I think we're at that video.
Go fast.
Everybody close their eyes.
Okay. Here we go to the beginning. Okay, so as Elva and Shannon introduced, I am Luiza, and I will talk about the Observatório de Aves da Mantiqueira, or OAMA, or the Mantiqueira Bird Observatory. And before I start, I just would like to say a huge thank you to Shannon and Jamie and Elva too, that have been putting this together and open this space for us. And let me time myself here. And so let's start introducing myself for those who haven't met me before. I am Louisa Figuera, a biologist, ecologist, and more specifically ornithologist, a former KBOer, and co-founder and currently executive director of the Mantiqueira Bird Observatory. And in this talk, I would like to first start introducing the background. I think both Shannon and Elva have done a perfect introduction, so I will go fast through this part because they they already said everything. But I would like to let you know how KBO was important for the creation of Mantiqueira Bird Observatory and how was my experience with the Klamath Bird Observatory. So we've myself and Pedro, my partner, my working partner and my life partner, we were KBOers interns at the banding program from 2015, and then went back in 2016 and stayed to the end of 17, doing other things beyond bird banding, but being part of the banding program. And the banding training program, this international program that Shannon presented to us, give us a lot of experience, important experience for us, for preparing us to do bird work, bird science, bird conservation, and many different to face a diversity of situations. Some of those could be painful, but most of them are very, very important and pleasant. These are black-headed grosbeak, and they can be really painful birds in the hand. Some of these experience that the training program provides us is outstanding training quality. Like, we spend 6 months with intense training, high quality people working with us. At my time, I had Bob Fry as my trainer. It was a fantastic experience. We also learned a lot about outreach, communication with the public, not only with the to talk with scientists, but also to talk with general public, with people interested in birds. These pictures during a board meeting visiting at our banding station while we were collecting data at one of long-term monitoring sites at KBO. The board member were visiting, and we were telling them about what we do, how we do, and why we do. But also, one important lesson was that we need to go beyond. We need to go beyond those that are searching for that information. We need to expand our reach, talking with people who usually wouldn't be searching to learn about birds. So go find people, go tell people about why we need to do bird and habitat conservation. And so don't wait them to come to you. You also can go to them. During my time at KBO, also learned a lot about how to not only be trained, like not only about how to improve my techniques at banding and collecting data, but also learn a lot about how to train people, how to pass that techniques to other people learning too. And this is Shannon Rio at our bird banding basics workshop in 2015 when I first met Shannon, and she was there as a student and I was there as a teacher assistant. And also very important are the connections, the exchange of experience between people, researchers, colleagues, and general people doing science, doing conservation. And these pictures during end of the year party, an event that used to happen every year, where we gather it with other researchers from many different places, other people learning, students. And it was not only a time to celebrate the end of the season and to celebrate birds, but also to exchange, do presentations and talks about the work that each one have been doing, what you have been studying. And I learned and enjoyed so much of those moments because I could go beyond my little world and go beyond what I was learning, learn about more than what I was immersed on, like focused on, and opened my mind to many other different possibilities. So learning about these connections were important too. We participate on research projects, some of those that we are collaborating until nowadays. We keep developing these international collaboration and research projects from 2015 now on. And also extremely important was learning about logistics and what is behind the scene of an NGO. Because without that, like this is most of what I do currently, like my day-to-day, it's so much of logistics and communication and how we put an NGO together, how we keep this work going. So my main message with this short first part of presentation is that the steps we trailed along with KBO were an essential part of the path to where we are today, like what we do now. And where we are, what we do, it's what I'm gonna talk in the next slides. But I just want to highlight how passing by the training program at KBO and having this partnership and continue collaborating with KBO until today makes a big difference and gave a lot of direction on what we do down here in Brazil. So let's talk a little bit about an introduction to the Mantiqueira Bird Observatory, or Observatório de Aves da Mantiqueira, how we say in Portuguese, ou AMA. So what we are an independent non-profit organization to do like we use of science and outreach to get to promote birds conservation in the Atlantic forest and beyond in Brazil. So we are here at the Atlantic forest. Here's Brazil, and the Atlantic forest is one biome, one very threatened biome and highly diverse. So it's a hotspot of diversity in the world, of tropical diversity. And we are set at where this little bird is located around here in the southeast of the country. More specifically, our field station is located at the state of Minas Gerais in the municipality of Bocaina de Minas. And we are surrounded by a nice tropical forest in the high mountains of the Monticada. We are surrounded, like it's a matrix of forest and also like open grass, like deforested, a rural area. So although most of what we see here is this beautiful and diverse forest, we have a matrix. We are surrounded by a rural area nearby. And here you can see like this river of clouds. This is because we are in the highlands, and every morning we get this river of clouds coming in through the valleys. So it's a beautiful place. I hope you all can come visit one day. And what are our actions? I will highlight just a few of the actions, what we do, because we have been doing a lot of things, like what's good. And tomorrow we will be sending out our annual report from 2021, in which we outline all activities we accomplished last year. So if any of you would like to join our mailing list, please share your email with Elva through comments or by her email, and she can pass it to me so I can add you to our mailing list to share this information, and you will be able to receive our annual report, which is I'm very proud of, and I think it's a nice report, so I encourage you to get it. So a little bit of our actions, what we are focusing on this year. We have the long, sorry, the face here, our monitoring and training program. It's we are starting this year. It's the first time, like it's a major goal, like to reflect what we learn and what we experience in KBO. We apply here in the tropics in Brazil, and we finally start this program this year. And it's a long-term, full-time training in field biology focused on banding and point counts, but also allowed the trainees to get experience with outreach. And we are really filling a gap, a real gap with this program. We open 2 positions at a time, 3 months each position, and we are already filled for the full year with applications. We have a waiting list. There are several people interested in participating, even like it's a very new program. But we understand that we were missing that. We don't have, as long as we know, this is the first organization. We are the first organization to offer this long-term training opportunity here in Brazil. There's nothing like what we experienced in KBO here, and such a huge demand from students and from people that already finished their studies but are trying to learn or get more specialized in these techniques, and they have nowhere to learn from. So there is a huge gap and a big demand for this kind of training and opportunities here. And this is what we are trying to fill this gap. And of course, the training program is important because at the same time that is building capacity, like local capacity building, it's also increasing our data set, our bank of bird data in the long term, standardized, so we can have a long-term monitoring to learn what is happening with the habitat, what is happening with the climate, and especially what is happening with birds. But changing gears a little bit, another arm of our actions are social media and outreach and produce informative material to reach to people. We are very active through Instagram. Like we have a good number of followers, all organic, like people that start seeing our work and is following us through social media, where we produce all kinds of informative material. We talk about extinction, species extinction, what are the causes and implications, how new species come up, what are bird observatories, how to deal with sound pollution and how these affect birds. So we produce many different kinds of material to inform people. And we also talk about specific species with illustrations, but we go beyond the network, like we go beyond the internet, and we get alive with people. We do several, like we have done in the past, several activities, but this year I will share several pictures now from one activity that happened just 2 weeks ago here in a state park nearby us, where we had about almost 300 visitors along 3 days. And it was such a pretty and exciting experience. I will share with a few photos with you all and our goals. So we received a few classes of students from local municipality school, and also tourists and visitors, families passing by, invited open door events at the state park headquarters. We produce and expose panels talking about what are bird extinctions. We were sharing with them what are the causes, what are the classifications, how we learn about that. We talked about bird diversity. big birds, trying to reach out to touch not only their minds, but also their hearts about birds and their importance. We talked about ornithology, about bird reproduction. So general presentations like Bird Biology 101 to a lot of very diverse people, from young kids to adults, families, teenagers. And we also did a bird trail. So birding with people that have never touched binoculars before, that had never thought about birding and never had this opportunity. It was very exciting, very special. And not only kids, as I said, like teenagers, adults. And in these activities, let me see. Yeah, the main reason for that activity was the delivery, free delivery of 2 booklets that we produced. One, it's called Ornithologia para todo dia. That means everyday ornithology. And the other one's about, it's Aves Ameaçadas da Mata Atlântica. It's a coloring book, Threatened Birds of Atlantic Forest, where we have 10 illustrated threatened species, and then information about those species. And many of these outreach activities are a collaboration with the National Action Plan to Conserve Atlantic Forest Birds. It's a program, a national program, which we were invited to join for promoting bird conservation. So we collaborate in finding solutions and providing actions, real actions for conservation, bird conservation. And who does that? So our core team is myself, Pedro, and Afonso, who's also an ornithologist, and joined Pedro and I in these efforts to promote, to increase our mission. We have volunteering collaborators. Ellen is among us tonight, and she has been doing a lot for OAMA since our first steps. We also have here, they're in the back here, quietly in the back, you can see because it's quite dark here. But we have Karine Rezende as our scholarship in environmental education and bird monitoring. And Otávio Rocha, who is our assistant in scientific outreach and communication. And he's also been part of our bird monitoring training program. As well as André is also participating here, and several volunteers that makes our actions happen. And we have to talk about how much that all cost, because well, I was going to ask you what you think that it costs to have some interaction here, but
I can't see, hon.
Okay, in that big round square. See this? No, over to the left.
That says it there.
Okay, but it's over there. See that round thing? There. That's where you put it.
Okay.
Can you?
Hi, Charlene.
Okay.
Charlene, can you mute yourself? Thank you.
So, getting back. How much all this work, what we do cost? For our annual cost of all outreach, administrative costs, infrastructure, monitoring, human resources, we have an annual total cost of little more than $44,000. It's not much for a full organization to develop the programs, right? It's, if you think monthly, it's about $3,690 monthly to make it all happen. However, it's not a lot, but we are still missing a little bit less than half of that to make the end of the year. So to keep these activities happening, to keep the training program, the outreach program, and all the material and connections that we do, to close 2022, we still need a little over $16,000. That's, if we think monthly, is about $1,629 for the next 10 months, right? To what we still need to close the year. And so that's why we invite you to consider to donate to support OAMA and guarantee the viability of this project in the present and in the future. This is a link, a QR code, where you could just use your cell phone screen to donate, or you could use one of the links that Elva shared. You can join our mailing list if you decide to think more, and maybe in the future.
Technology is not working for us.
I need to stop this. I don't want to just in my car.
Maybe join us in the future. And I would just like to end this part saying that we know that we are at the very beginning, at the trailhead of an exciting, important, but also very challenging ride. There is a goal, we have a goal to reach, but we know that there is not an end to this trail. So this is a always going trail, like we have to keep going. It's challenging, but we have to keep going. And so if we still have time, just a little time, I would like to invite you all to a virtual field trip to get to know our site, our habitat, and our birds. I had a slide before, 2 hours ago, I had a presentation with 100 pictures, and I had to cut a few, but I still would like to introduce some of the birds. So let's first see the habitat. This amazing place is the Monticada mountain range. These pictures took from the top of a huge stone where we had the pleasure to camp at. This is the sunrise, what you get for camping such a marvelous place. And the habitat is a foresty, evergreen, always green, very wet forest with amazing, a lot of water, amazing spot, but also I wanted to highlight this picture due to the amazing waterfall that we have, but also due to these naked landscape rural area. So a matrix of forest and a rural area. This is the sunrise where we are. There's a sound of, can you hear it? The start of the morning, the sound of the start of the morning in a just
It's
a lot
really
of insects.
quiet, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of insects, and this is the sunrise in the bending morning. We are in an area of occurrence of Araucaria pine, an endangered tree species. Very important for birds, many, but not only birds, mammals, and the diversity of the fauna depends on the fruits, the seeds, not fruits, the seeds of these pine. But it's endangered due to tree cut for wood, but also habitat lost. And we are in one of the last, like a few areas where you can find lots of it. We are also in the area of another endangered plant tree, that is the Josada palm tree. We did a documentary about it last year, and I hope that in the annual report you find it to see this documentary. And it gives you the berry of this palm, give you this healthy and delicious drink, açaí, Josada açaí. This is one of our backyard trail just behind our field station, one of the areas where we do the bird monitoring. In this video, you can see one of our spots of net lanes. We are at the top of the mountain in the forest, in a very open area in the forest, but it's a natural open, a natural gap due bamboo, a native bamboo that comes and go in like 30 years intervals, and then open these natural gaps that are important for the colonization of new species, and also the passing of birds that use more habitat, more open habitat. And this is the road you have to ride to get to our field station. So not many cars get here, but it's worth the view. So I will pass the view again. Here's our home, our field station, and our nice view from the mountains there. And let's see some birds then. So let's first visit our banding. Oh no, I first started with a video here. So one guy that you can see here, have you ever seen this happening alive? We can see that's one that we filmed in the backyard here. The males of blue mannequin, they do this flag, the dancing for attracting the female. And in this specific group, there are only males. The green one here is practicing. They all have the red cap, so they are all males. One of the warblers, few warblers that we have, a white-ringed warbler. It's not passing. A straight chanops, a small of the wood creeper group, nearby wood creepers. Rufus brown pepper shrike, very common, not so much in the nets, but very common detect around, and the terror of benders because this sharp bill really can hurt, like painful, very painful. It's small, but you don't want to catch one in the net. You also don't want to catch one of those, although they are marvelous. They are huge. Look the size of this bill and this cloth. They can take blood out of your hands, but they are very exciting. This is the white-throated wood creeper, and it's usually the first one to sing in the morning and the last one at the end of the day. So very common sound around. The amazing Rufus capped motmot, only captured in our net a couple of times, but very often detected. And here is one with a little bit of movement. It gets so quiet, but it's alive and moving. Rufus colored sparrow, a common sparrow that we have here. It's not common all around anymore, mostly due nest parasitism. So, and the black hawk eagle, it's always around, have a nest just by the valley here. And this picture, it was really close by the bird. Here's a video that we recorded the same day. Let's see if it will work. Green-winged saltator, a bird very much caught for people putting in cages because they sing beautifully. Rusty-bellied owl, one of the common owls we have. It was singing, like calling, earlier today, nearby. I couldn't let out the symbol, the logo of OAMA. The burnished buff tanager, male and female. The breasted tanager, so colorful, special, and now we are capturing quite a few of those in our mist nets. And I let you with the swallow tanager, male, nomadic bird, probably do some tropical migration movement, but we're still learning about that. It shows up here in OAMA area for breeding every year and in big numbers. So my final message is that the challenges that birds face today are global. The solutions need to permeate social, political, economic, and technical fronts. And we can only do that together. No organization will be able to do that alone. So let's do that together. We are connected. So as birds. And so I let you with this invitation to join us, join our effort and our mission. And this is my little baby, and Pedro, my partner. Like, she has been with us at the banding station and bird monitoring every month since she is born. So let me pass again, just because she's so cute. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, Louisa. Thank you, Shannon, so much for a wonderful presentation. It is now 7 o'clock, so we ended right on time. But does anyone have any questions for these two about KBO or OWAMA?